Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you to the Save Soil webinar. My name is Suresh, and I'm a volunteer with Conscious Planet, an initiative launched by Sadhguru and is supported by worldwide leaders and global influencers such as His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Jane Goodall, Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, Mark Benioff, and many others. It is also supported by prestigious worldwide institutions such as UNCCD, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, World Food Program, WFP, Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN, United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, World Economic Forum, and many more. We've all heard about climate change, and we largely understand it as long-term changes in global temperatures and other characteristics of the atmosphere. We are seeing and experiencing the consequences of climate change more and more, with increased heat, drought, flooding, declining water supplies, wildfires, flooding, erosion of the coastal areas, warming of the oceans, melting of the glaciers, rising sea levels. And we have learned that all these issues and consequences of climate change are largely attributed to burning of fossil fuels, emission of greenhouse gases, industrial activity, waste disposal, air pollution, plastic pollution. These are all issues that definitely need to be addressed, no doubt. But the elephant in the room, the biggest issue that no one is talking about, is soil degradation. Why soil? Did you know soil accounts for 35 to 40% of the climate change issues. Yet, it receives only 4 to 5% of the climate change budget. This is the most overlooked problem. Conscious Planet aims at creating a mass global movement called the Save Soil movement to inspire, inform, and educate at least 3.5 billion people around the world about the alarming condition of our soil, the looming crisis ahead of us, and most importantly, to garner the support of these 3.5 billion people to effect the necessary policy change for soil restoration. See, just 2 years ago, I had no clue about the threatening condition of our soil and this big crisis. Many of us are not aware of this huge crisis that is happening literally under our feet. I was not even aware of what made soil soil until Sadhguru started talking about it. That is when I first heard about it. So before we go any further, I'd like for us to watch a recently released video where Sadhguru brings into perspective these issues about the soil and also the solutions for this problem. Even if you have watched this video before, please watch it again, as it brings a certain understanding about what this movement is all about. Let us watch this together.
We are talking about climate change, carbon emissions, and global warming and various other aspects. But we are not addressing soil. Soil is the habitat upon which zillions of lives thrive. Once there is no richness in soil, then you have forsaken the planet in many ways. Every responsible scientist in the world and the UN agencies are clearly saying we have only 80 to 100 harvests left. That means approximately 45 to 50 years of agricultural soil left on the planet. By 2045, we will be producing 40% less food than what we are producing right now, and our populations will be 9.3 billion people. The food shortages that could manifest in the next 25 years, the consequences of that is unimaginable. Civil wars will unfold across the world once there is food shortage. What we are facing now is soil extinction. Why is soil becoming extinct? Where is it going away? What is happening to our soil? We must understand, if you add organic content to sand, sand will turn into soil. If you remove all organic content from the soil, soil will become sand. In normal agricultural soil, the minimum organic content should be between 3 to 6%. The most minimum is 3%. At least this minimum to keep the soil alive, to keep the soil as living soil is a must. Agricultural soils across the world, the depletion is so heavy, in most countries, more than 50% of the topsoil is already gone in the last 100 years. The nutrient levels have dropped significantly. The level of micronutrients you would get from your food in early 20th century to what you are getting from the same food now has dropped 90%. If you ate one orange in 1920s, what you got from it, now in 2020, if you have to get the same, you will have to eat 8 oranges. This is what we have done to our food.
Soil is the biggest ecosystem on the planet, and so few people know anything about it. 1 teaspoon of healthy soil probably contains more microbes than there are people on Earth.
The microbial life in the first 12 to 15 inches of topsoil is the basis of our existence. It is this magic beneath our feet which has produced the life that we are. This first 12 to 15 inches of soil is the basis of life for 87% of life on this planet, including you and me.
We have to begin to recognize that what we call our soil, Mother Earth, is a living organism.
Open soils, ripped open by ploughing, open to sunlight, is the basis of destruction of microbial life. So the focus should be on agriculture, the focus should be on seeing that land is under shade as much as possible, some kind of shade, grasses, herbs, bushes, trees. Conscious Planet is launching Save Soil movement to bring about a policy change to regenerate soil. As a part of this, I'm 65 and I'm riding 30,000 kilometers, a lone motorcycle journey, 30,000 kilometers across 24 nations to activate support from the citizenry to assure the governments long-term investments will be appreciated. So it's extremely important that soil regeneration is enshrined in the policy of every government on the planet. We must change the narrative on the planet that soil is a wealth, a legacy we have received from previous generations, and we have to pass it on as living soil for future generations. We are in a cusp of time. If you do the right things now, in the next 15 to 25 years, we can significantly turn this situation around and regenerate the soil. But if we allow this to progress like this for another 30 to 40 years, after 40 years if we attempt this, then it could take 150 to 200 years because that much loss of biodiversity would have happened. From 21st of March for 100 days, the whole world, every human being on the planet should talk soil. We must hear the word soil, save soil everywhere to see that the narrative on the planet changes towards the most vital aspect of our life, the soil. Each one of you should reach as many people as you can to make this happen. Many global leaders and influencers are already participating in the movement. Be a part of this and let us make it happen.
From my part, as much as I can contribute.
We're going to save the soil. Do your part.
And saving the soils.
Our future, our children's future, and our planet's future depend on it.
Save the soil.
We know what we must do, so let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
There are many unique aspects to this movement. I'd like to go over a few of them. First of all, why this movement? Why do we need a movement? There are two aspects to this. First is the immensity of the issue that we are facing, and the second is how imminent it is. The rate at which we are losing our soil and soil is turning into sand is quite alarming. The United Nations estimates that every 5 seconds we are losing 1 soccer field area of topsoil. Currently, 52% of the world's lands are degraded, and this is expected to increase to 90% in 2045 to 2050. And by that time, our population would be more than 9 billion. It is estimated that by 2045, an estimated 1.7 billion people will die of hunger. We are facing the biggest food crisis in the history of humanity. 1.7 billion. To put that number into perspective, it is the entire population of North America, South America, and all the countries in Europe combined. This is the enormity of the situation that we are facing. And this is not expected to happen in the distant future, like few hundred years from now. 2045 to 2050 is just 22 to 25 years away. And that is why we need the Save Soil movement. The Save Soil movement aims at changing this narrative about soil by inspiring at least 3.5 billion people around the world. This is equivalent to about 60% of the world's electorate. They have a right to vote. If they are informed and they seek the necessary policy changes, to ensure there is a minimum of 3% organic content in the soil. Only then it would be brought into the manifestos of key political parties and then become global national policy. Unless this happens, there will be no meaningful, sustained change. And that is why we need this movement. So, who can be a part of this movement? Anyone who consumes food can and should be a part of this movement, because this affects each and every one of us, and it affects our children and the future of the future generations. See, one of the unique aspects of this movement is it is an all-inclusive movement. It is not against anyone. It is not a protest. It is not an agitation. This is not activism. It is simply about bringing awareness about an issue that affects each and every one of us. Only if a sufficient number of people are willing to work and accept long-term action plans, only then governments will work towards policy changes. So there should be a minimum of 3% organic content in the soil. This should become policy of all nations globally. Some of you may be wondering, why a policy? Why can't we go and do something right now about the soil? Do policies really work? A policy is something that predetermines a course of action and sets guidelines towards certain objectives. See, we may do what we think is right now, but those who come after us may do something totally different and undo what we have done. So having a policy is the only way you can have meaningful, long-term change which can become effective solutions. Do they really work? Let me give you an example. In the 1970s, scientists warned us that the ozone layer in the atmosphere, this is the layer that protects the Earth from the harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun. They were saying that this layer was getting depleted by common household chemicals that we were using. There were CFCs in aerosols, fridges, and air conditioners. In 1985, they confirmed there was a hole in the ozone layer above Antarctica, and this was rapidly enlarging in size. The future looked bleak with increasing skin cancers, plants dying, severely disrupted ecosystems across the planet. However, in 1987, 197 countries came together and signed the Montreal Protocol, and they agreed to phase out 99% of the ozone-depleting chemicals. Because of this global policy change, today the ozone layer is already repairing itself, and the hole in the ozone layer is expected to close by mid-century. This is the power of a policy. There must be a minimum of 3% organic content in the soil. This should become a global national policy. The other unique aspect of this movement is we're not advocating any particular solution, because solutions will depend on each country, where it's located, its latitude, the climatic conditions, the economic conditions, the traditional practices, agricultural practices, and so many other factors. How the policy is going to be implemented and how it's going to be, the changes will be made in each country will be left to each region and country. As long as they adopt the policy that there should be a minimum of 3% organic content in the soil, and that Sadhguru has already said that land must come under shade, how they do it and how they implement it will be left to the countries. See, many scientists have known about this issue for many years. Many organizations have been working towards soil restoration, but there has been no meaningful change that has happened. It is simply because sufficient number of people have not been inspired or informed about this. In the past, entire civilizations like the Mayan, Mesopotamian, Roman civilizations have completely disappeared because of soil degradation. So that is why right now we need a global policy change. One may think, why can't we do something like composting, recycling, using renewable energy sources, decreasing our carbon footprint? These are all very good efforts to do, but it will not tackle the immensity of the problem. Neither will it tackle the imminence of the issue. So how did Sadhguru come to this solution? Sadhguru has been working towards environment-related projects for almost 3 decades. For those of you who are not familiar with his work, we invite you to visit our website and learn about the various projects that he has done. Project Green Hands to enhance the land cover, green cover in southern India. In 2006, the project was launched. In 2017, the Rally for Rivers, a national project to rejuvenate and revitalize India's depleting rivers by planting trees in the river basins. Kaveri Calling, an effort to rejuvenate a major South Indian river, Kaveri. So you can visit the website and learn about these issues. And now he is launching the Conscious Planet and the Save Soil movement. So what can you do to be a part of this movement, and how can you contribute? The first thing that you need to do is to educate yourself about this crisis and about this movement. Please visit the consciousplanet.org website. There is a wealth of knowledge and the facts about what is happening with this issue and what this movement is all about. You must educate yourself in such a way that you can talk to anyone, your friends, family, colleagues, for a minimum of 1 minute about this. You can also visit isha.us/savesoil and become an Earth Buddy. So as an Earth Buddy, you can spend as little as 10 minutes to 20 minutes a day and help inform everyone in your circles about what is happening with the soil and what the Save Soil movement is all about. You can have them go to this website, isha.us/soil, and learn about this. You can share a video or a message, or you can invite them to webinars like this to learn more about this movement. Posting on social media is a very effective way of spreading this message. You can share a story, you can reshare a story, tweet, retweet, like, comment. Use the Save Soil hashtag Save Soil to help amplify this message, because you can look for more content using this hashtag also. On Facebook and Instagram, you can look up the handles @Sadhguru and @ConsciousPlanet. On Twitter, you can use @SadhguruJV and @CPSaveSoil. You can get very creative about the social media. You can create your own post, a video message. It can be funny, serious, heartfelt, long, short, but it should be always sincere. Be sure to link consciousplanet.org website so that people can go and read up on the issue. Those of you who are not familiar with social media, there is a social media toolkit on consciousplanet.org where it will take you through how to create an account, how to create a post, how to post it, share, retweet, tweet, create reels on Instagram, and so much more. There is something there for beginners, intermediates, and even pros. You can also follow Sadhguru on his more than 18,000-mile motorcycle journey that he's undertaking from March 21st from London to South India. He'll be going through the ice of Europe, through the heat storms of Arabia, and monsoons of India. So while he's on his journey, he'll be tweeting unique aspects about the soil every day. He's doing this journey mainly to inspire people about this movement and garner the support to meet and bring together global influencers and leaders so that this national policy change globally can happen. So you can help amplify, you can follow Sadhguru on this journey and help amplify the messages coming from him and through Save Soil and Conscious Planet. Before we close, we'd like to show you one more short video about soil and its effect on climate change and what it can do to help. Let us watch this together.
Look around you. Everything you see came from the soil, whether it was mined and extracted or grown and processed. Human civilization is built on the foundation of soil, both figuratively and literally. Yet, how much do we give back? Globally, soil fertility is plummeting, with 1/3 of global soils already considered to be degraded. While many suggest we start looking for a new planet to ruin, I mean colonize, I suggest we learn how to take better care of what we already have. The good news is that healthy soils not only provide all we need, but they also help solve many issues human society has created. Earth is filled with carbon-based life forms, and most of that carbon is CO2 pulled from the atmosphere and used to build the roots, stems, trunks, leaves, every part of every plant. Not only do plants sequester carbon in their structure, they also deliver large amounts of carbon to the microcosmos of organisms that live in the soil, organisms that modern farming practices destroy. The largest known release of CO2 comes each year when farmers around the world till their soil, ripping huge wounds in the skin of the earth and spewing out plumes of greenhouse gases that can be seen from space. Conversely, the greatest reduction in global CO2 emissions are seen when crops in those same fields begin to sprout in spring. What if we encouraged farmers around the world to adopt soil-friendly farming practices? Could the soil absorb all the carbon that humans emit? We've done the calculations, and earthworms alone gobble up and sequester in their fertile excrement the entire amount of CO2 in the atmosphere every 4 years. Worldwide, soil is estimated to contain nearly 1,000 times more carbon than in the atmosphere. What's the difference between sand and soil? Black, fertile carbon. We aim to prove that harmonizing global farming practices with the natural carbon cycles can not only neutralize human carbon emissions, but it would revitalize and restore the fertility of our soils in the process. We don't need expensive new technology to solve some of our biggest issues. We simply need to shift our practices to harmonize with a planet that has already figured out how to sustainably support life harmoniously.
So the Save Soil movement, this is the only way to ensure soil health for generations to come, to leave behind a planet that is capable of producing nutritious food, and to align human activity to be supportive of nature and all life on planet. Sadhguru, at his age, he's undertaking this arduous journey to bring this movement to the people and make this global change happen. Each one of us is needed for this. We need to do what we can do to change this destiny, this bleak destiny that is facing us, that is staring at us in our face. This is a historic moment, and we have a privilege to be part of it. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar. We hope it has helped clarify some of the questions that you may have about this Save Soil movement. We have a generational responsibility. Let us stand up to this responsibility for the sake of our children and future generations. Please join us and let us make it happen.